So, hello and welcome everyone. And today, this is the second lecture of our SEBI special series. In this series, we are going to discuss all SEBI related topics, right? And in last class, that is the first class, in that first class, I have started demand and supply, and I explained you about law of demand, right? And I also explained you what is the difference between demand and desire, and economics deal with what? Economics deal with demand rather than desire, right? And as per the law of demand, demand is inversely proportional to the price. If price will increase, then demand will decrease, and if price will decrease, demand will increase. Means there will be the inverse change in the demand if price will be changed. And for that, I have explained you 4 5 scenarios. In scenario number 1, there will be the equal change in the demand when the price will be changed. In the second scenario, I told you what the change in the price is going to show greater change in the demand. In third scenario, I told you what the price will be changed, and the change in the demand will be less than change in the price. Fourth scenario, I told you when the price will be changed, there will be no change in the demand. And in fifth case, when the price will change, demand will completely change, right? So on the basis of these 5 cases, I told you about the essential goods, right? So essential goods which are essential for life, for those goods people are ready to pay even higher price, right? Because they are essential in the nature. So that is why essential goods always going to show case number 3. Case number 3 means even there is a high change in the price, there will be slight change in the demand. And we have taken the example of salt, sugar, medicine, all these things under the category of essential goods. And even government, to maintain the supply of essential goods, they have ASMA, Essential Commodity Management Act. Under that, government can force the seller and producer of those essential goods to maintain the supply in order to provide those essential goods to the public. And I told you rest of the case we will deal in the part of what, when we will discuss the elasticity. Then we went for what? Then we went for what are the exceptions to the law of demand. And under that, I told you the goods who do not follow the law of demand, if they are of inferior quality and they do not follow the law of demand, they are known as inferior goods. And I have given you the example of Irish famine, and Irish famine case was cited by Lord Giffen, and that is why inferior goods are also known as Giffen goods, right? And Giffen goods do not follow the law of demand. Fine. And after that, I also explained you about another good, those known as luxury goods, and this phenomenon was explained by Veblen. So that is why luxury goods are also known as Veblen goods. So on the basis of law of demand, we have categorized goods in 3 categories: normal goods, those goods who follow the law of demand, whereas another kind category is the inferior goods, and these goods do not follow the law of demand, right? And third category, luxury goods, they are also kind of goods who do not follow the law of demand. So what is the common feature among inferior goods and luxury goods? The common feature is both kind of goods do not follow the law of demand. But in general, inferior goods are what? Substitute kind of goods when people are not able to purchase normal goods because high rise in the price, then they generally shift towards the inferior goods. So in other words, we can also say that inferior goods are generally substitute goods, right? So we will take this thing later when we will discuss the elasticity. When we will take the elasticity, then I will discuss about the substitute goods and complementary goods. So there is a one set category of complementary goods and substitute goods. I will take it later when I'll explain the law of supply and price factor, how it impact each and everything. Then we will discuss that part also. Fine. So today, after that means when I explained this type of goods, then I explained you about what? Then I explained you about demand curve, and I just draw this figure in the last class, and I told you whenever you have to check the slope of the curve, you have to check it from the origin point, not any other point. So if you will see the demand curve from the origin point, it is down sloping curve. It is one of the simplest question asked many times in many exam, including SEBI exam. So demand curve is always down sloping curve, right? And other kind of demand curve for different demand cases we will discuss in the elasticity. Today we have to first deal with the law of supply. Okay, so let's start law of supply. Just before starting this one, I just go one comment. Your lectures are helpful. Please provide the grade B PDF material in advance so that after the lecture it will be helpful for the revision. Okay, fine. I'll do this thing for first unit. As I mentioned that once the monetary policy part will be over, I'll provide that. But from the next unit onwards, I will provide in advance. Right? I will provide in advance. But it's a kind of economics is kind of give and take. So if you are asking me, I'm also asking something to you. If I'll give you the notes in advance, then what you have to do, you have to promise me. I am, because if I'll give the notes in advance, I'll put some space there, right? So that you can write. So when I'll deliver that lecture side by side, you can write it there, right? So few things you have to write it there. It will be more helpful for you. I means it will be helpful only when you are writing on it side by side, right? Otherwise it is not going to help you. Fine. So from next unit onwards, means after the monetary policy, I'll give the PDF in advance for every lecture, or I'll try to give for entire unit. But definitely means uh, once this monetary policy topic will be over, from then you will get the PDF in advance, right? But side by side you have to write during the lecture, or whenever you are watching that lectures, you should write simultaneously. Okay, is it fine? So okay, so let's start today's topic, and today we are going to start with law of supply, right? And according to law of supply, supply is directly proportional to the price. Means if the price will increase, then supply will increase, and if price will decrease, supply will decrease. After hearing this thing, people start questioning, sir, how it is possible? You told us in the law of demand, demand is inverse proportion to the price. Means if price will increase, demand will decrease. But now you are saying that if price will increase, then supply will also increase. So my question is, the students say that my question is, if demand is decreasing, why supply is increasing? So my dear, the point is, the bottom line, when we stated this law, the bottom line, the main thing was other variables are constant. Similarly, here also, when we are stating this law, again this condition applied. So this condition means here supply is constant, and here demand is constant, right? So we take other variables constant, only then this thing will work. Okay, means uh, okay, I will deal all of your questions once this session will be about to over. My request is, please follow this lecture. Once the session is about to over, I will deal all of your questions. But please, right now, focus on the lecture. And if you have any problem, or you are not able to understand anything which is related to lecture, write in comment, or at the end I will take all other questions at the end of this lecture. Okay, so please right now focus and understand this thing. I'll take all of your questions later. I'll read all the comments, don't worry, but please right now focus on the lecture. Okay, Rivik? Okay, so what is law of supply? According to law of supply, according to this law, if other variables are constant, then if price will increase, supply will also increase. Vice versa is also true. So on the basis of this law, we can say that price and supply are in direct proportion. Price and supply are in direct proportion. Fine. And while defining law of demand, I told you sometimes in place of other variables, they use this French term, ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means other variables are constant. So in the exam, if they are using this term, you have to understood what other variables are constant. So other variables are constant, so they can replace this entire line with ceteris paribus. So if you will keep this thing in mind, things are going to be easier for you in the exam, right? So as per the law of supply, price is directly proportional to the supply. When we stated this law of demand, we told you five cases. What five cases means? Here we stated that as per the law, both are in direct proportion. Price will increase, supply will increase, but the question is how much. So to exploring the possibility how much there will be increase in the supply or how much decrease in the supply when price is going to be increase or decrease, there will be five kind of the possibility. What kind of the possibility we have seen in the law of demand, same possibilities are here also. And here we are going to define change in price with delta P and change in supply with delta S, right? So means what are the possibilities? One possibility is maybe there will be the equal change. Equal change means change in price is equal to change in supply. One possibility. Second possibility is change in price is greater than change in supply. Third possibility is change in price is less than change in supply. Fourth case is change in price and there will be no change in the supply. Prices keep changing, but there is no change in the supply. Fifth possibility is change in the price and there will be complete change in the supply, right? So these are the five possibilities, same kind of the possibilities we have discussed in the law of demand. Again, I am reiterating this thing, this thing and the change in demand case means these cases, all these cases All these cases we are going to discuss when we will discuss elasticity. Right, we will discuss in the elasticity one of the important basic concept. It's very basic thing, but generally students don't know who are not from economics background, right? So once the law of demand and law of supply will be over, I will come to this elasticity point and I will discuss there all these cases, because there is a huge possibility they can ask this question in your exam, right? So I'll deal this, as I told you, deal with this thing later. Now move towards the supply curve. Supply curve. We have seen that demand curve was what? Demand curve was downward sloping curve. Now let's find what kind of the curve will be the supply curve, right? Supply curve. And to understand the supply curve, here supply and this axis is showing price, right? So in the beginning, when the price will low, considering price is P1, as per the law, what law states that price is directly proportional to the supply. And for your just understanding, we are considering this case. Change in the price is equal to change in the supply. We are taking this simplest case for your understanding to understand the nature of the curve, right? So price is P1 at this point, supply is S1, right? Price is P1, supply is S1. When price is increased to P2, supply is S2. Just give me a second. Okay, sorry for interruption. That was an important call I have to attend. So, okay, fine. So, I was telling you initially price is low, supply is also low because price and supply in direct proportion. Price is increasing, supply is increasing, right? So, every time price is increasing, supply is increasing. And as we have considered this case, same change, equal change, this case we have considered. So if we will draw these points here, right? So if we will try to draw a curve, we will find this kind of the curve, right? This will be the curve and we can write it as a supply curve. Supply curve. So can you tell me the slope of supply curve is upward sloping or downward sloping? Supply curve is upward sloping or downward sloping? Please write your comment. Ritvik, you can prepare for this exam. Don't worry. Just follow the lectures which I am delivering here. So no need to worry about economics kind of syllabus. Maths, English, reasoning, other thing you can handle from your science background. But for this economics, just follow my lectures. That is more than sufficient. No need to do anything. That will be good for you. You can prepare for this exam. So please answer my question. Supply curve, it will be downward sloping or upward sloping? I told you, what? I told you we have to see the slope, or we have to, whenever we have to find what is the slope of the curve, we have to find it from the origin point, and it is showing upwards. So supply curve is upward sloping. Demand curve is down sloping, but supply curve is upward sloping. Okay, so this is supply curve, upward sloping curve, right? So just for your understanding, if we will take this case, delta P change in price, right? Delta S change in supply. But this time change in the supply is greater than change in the price. Means, example, if there will be 10% change in the price, then there will be 20% or 30%, something like that. Definitely greater than 10% change will be there, right? If this is the scenario, then how the curve will be there, right? If we are taking this thing, what the change in the price, initial price is P1 and supply was S1. Now the price is increased to P2, that is 10%, but supply is increased to S2, that is around changes 20%, right? When we have increased the price to P3, then supply increased to S3. So we are taking this case. If we are taking this case, we will find the points on the curve like this, right? So our curve like this. Okay, so the curve is still upward sloping, but the curve is more bent towards the supply axis. This curve is more bent towards the supply axis, right? Got this point? So this supply curve is showing delta P is equal to delta S. But if the curve is like that, then what it is showing? It is showing delta P is less than delta S. Means there is a greater change in the supply, in comparison to change in the price. Understood? I hope you understood. Okay. Now, if we will take this case, delta P is greater than delta S. If we have to take this case, then what will happen? Again, this is initial price P1 and initial supply S1. So price we have changed to 20% from P2. From P1 to P2, the change in the price delta P here is how much? 20%, right? But there is a small change in the supply, and this is around 8%. There is a 20% change in the price, but supply is not responding, and as with that intensity. Supply is increasing, but not with that same pace, 20%. Here supply is increased only 8%. Again, we have increased the price by 20% from P2 to P3. but there is only small change in the supply. So here we are getting points on the curve in this manner, right? That means the slope will be like this. Fine, slope will be like this, and this slope is showing what? This slope is showing change in price is greater than change in supply, right? Here what was happening? Here the change in price is less than change in supply, or in other words, change in supply is greater than change in price. So if we have to mention in this figure only, then it is going to be like this. And this figure is showing delta P is greater than delta S, right? Now, one more case, and that case is what? That case is change in price, but change in price, but there is no change in the supply. Price is increasing, but supply is remain same. Doesn't matter price is increasing or price is decreasing, supply will be remain same. So I think this will be the most easiest curve. Why? Because whatever the price, if price is going to be zero or price is going to be infinity, whatever will be the price, supply will be remain same. Supply will be remain same. So curve will be like this. Okay, so curve will be like this, and we can mention it as a delta S is equal to 0. No change in the price. No change in the price. Understood this four figures? If you understood this four, then I'll take the fifth one. So just write it here so that I can move further. Shekhar Shumanji, how many times I tell you at 7:30 there will be the SEBI class and at 9 p.m. there will be the RBI class. Okay, so this is SEBI class. And it doesn't matter it's SEBI class or RBI class. If you are preparing for the exam, you must, even if you are only preparing for the RBI exam, you must watch this class, because these are the fundamentals. If you are able to understand and grab the fundamental things properly, it will be more easier for you to understand those things. Even if you have seen the last class, I have mentioned you that figure. Those students who are looking for this, what, who are looking only for RBI grade B, if you remember that in the last class when I was discussing this thing with you, in that lecture I made this diagram for you: supply, employment, income, consumption. So I made this figure, and then I told you about this boom and recession. You know, for that, this is the fundamental. This is the fundamental. What I am discussing here, this is the fundamental. From here, we will go there. From here, we do go there. Right. So whatever you are studying in SEBI specific part, that is the base and fundamental. So that is why even we have decided at grade B, we have decided, crack grade B, we have decided we will make it free. Why? The basic fundamental understanding is the most important thing. Doesn't matter for which exam you are preparing. Even if you are preparing for the UPSC Civil Services exam, RBI Grade B exam, any exam where they do ask economy, even in the SSC exam, right? SSC exam, they do ask these parts. So these are the fundamentals. Watch these series. Okay. But Nobody has answered my question. I asked, are you able to understand these four figures? You got my point? Have you understood this four lectures? Sorry, four figures, four curve. So now just let's take the fifth one. Fifth one is little bit different. So you have to apply your mind properly. So please focus properly to understand the fifth case. Here we are taking, this is supply axis and this is price axis, right? Just focus on this part. Okay. So we are going to take the case. Case is what? There is a change in the price, but when the price is changed, supply is going to change completely. If price is changed, then there is a complete change. So I use this term as an infinity. So initially, when the price is Px, initially the price is Px and supply was S1. At price Px, supply is S1, right? And what case we are going to take here? The case is change in price will result in complete change in supply. If price will be changed, there will be complete change in the supply. As per the law of supply, price is directly proportional to the supply. And here the case we are considering is what? The case we are considering is there will be complete change in the supply if price will be changed, right? So when the price was Px, supply was S1. So on the curve we got this point S1 Px, right? This is the curve on the point. Now we are saying if we will change the price, that will be complete change in the supply. Means if price is going to increase, then there will be complete change in the supply, complete increase in the supply. We are complete change. We are taking the case of complete change, right? That means if the price will be increased slightly, there will be complete, means it is going to be the highest supply, and for highest supply we are considering as an infinite. There is an infinite. It is a hypothetical case because see, when we consider something as an ideal, right, we consider something as an ideal, only then we will try to compare that ideal thing with the practical thing. Sometimes students ask, sir, what is the need? Because practically it is not possible. Yes, practically it is not possible to have such kind of the good where supply is going to be completely changed. Agreed. There is no such kind of a thing. And then their question is, sir, if it is not possible, why we are taking this thing? Right? So being as a human, it is always our deed, responsibility, or into to what? Make things possible. make things possible. So once you will consider something it is about to impossible, only then you will make your effort to make it possible. Philosophically I am talking. But when we're talking in the subject of economics or in subject of political science or in the subject of psychology, sociology, whatever the stream is, so we always take an ideal situation, and we this is the ideal situation and this is the practical situation, right? This is the ideal situation and it is a practical situation. So we always try to compare what we have to do so that we can reach here, right? How far from here, how near from this ideal situation. So this is always a kind of way of doing the studies. So that is why in every field we have ideal kind of thing where we will try to compare. For example, perfect black body which can absorb 100%, right? So black holes are known as what? They have extra amount of gravitational force. Even they can pull all of kind of the sun's ray of the suns also, right? So that phenomena of the dark black holes and that dark energy, it is going to open the door of study of the physics. So similarly here we take the ideal cases and we will try to compare the ideal situation with the practical situation to understand in a better manner, right? So this is why we take these cases. Fine. So let's move here. So we are taking this case and we are trying to find out the possibility of the curve when the complete change. And as a first, what we did, we have increased the price, and that increase in the price make the supply what? Supply 100%. Supply went for 100%. And if we will decrease the price, if we will decrease the price, if we will decrease the price, what will happen? Supply is going to be zero. Supply is going to be zero, right? Supply is going to be remain zero. Fine. Now the question is how we have to form a curve. What the curve will be? I'm giving you the option. It will be like this, or it will be like this. So A or B, what will be the curve in this case? Answer please. Answer please. Second one. Why second one? Why second one? Saurabh, why second one? Saurabh is saying that the curve will be like this. This will be the curve for what? This will be the curve for delta S is infinity. The answer is C. At this price, Saurabh is right. I am going to explain. Okay. Okay, Marathe Bandit. Good. This will be the curve. Why? The question is why this will be the curve. The answer is see, any change in the price, any change in the price is going to completely change in the demand. If price is going to be increased, supply will be what? Supply is going to be infinity. and if price will decrease, supply will be 0, right? So this curve is showing that on this point supply will be remain constant, means at price px supply will be s1, but if you will change in the price supply will be 0, and if you will change in the price upwards supply will be infinity. So whenever you are studying this curve or you are making your own notes, kindly mention it. This thing is highly required. Whenever you are drawing this curve, this point should be mentioned, right, in your curve. But generally, because in SEBI exam they are not going to ask this question in the form of curve, but what will they ask? They are going to ask in this manner. If they are going to ask this question in this manner, if supply curve if supply curve is if supply curve is perpendicular, if supply curve is perpendicular, or the question will be like that, if supply curve is parallel to supply axis. If supply curve is parallel to supply axis, in that case change in the supply will be, answer will be, change in the supply will be infinity, right? It is showing perfect change in the supply. So change in the price, in this case we can say that this case is showing change in price will bring complete change in supply. Perfect supply curve. Perfect supply curve. Perfect is what? Why it is perfect supply curve? It is perfect supply curve because any change in the price is bringing complete change in the supply. That is why we call it as a perfect supply curve. Got my point? Understood? Understood this point? If you understood, please write so that I can move forward from here. See, in the demand curve, I just made this curve for you. But in the supply, I explained all these 5 cases even before going to the elasticity. And I hope you understood this thing. Right? So, what our approach is going to be in this series? We will start with initial basic concept, and from that basic concept, we will try to build entire structure. Right? We will try to build entire structure. Ashish Dwivedi, good. Okay. So if you understood this supply case, so if you understood the supply case, fine. Now till then now from first lecture onwards we did law of demand and law of supply, right? Law of demand and law of supply. The demand curve was like this, whereas supply curve is like this. Supply, demand, price, If anyone who has joined today and he has not watched yesterday's lecture, that is available in our channel. You can watch that lecture, right? It will give you the better understanding, right? So till then, now primarily we have discussed the law of demand and law of supply, right? So now let's introduce next variable here in the law of demand as well as law of supply. So first, just focus on this curve, which is demand curve, right? Demand curve. First, we have to focus here, then we will come back to law of supply curve. So this is our demand curve, right? And in this demand curve, other variables are constant. Other variables are constant, right? Okay, if other variables are constant, that means we can consider income is also constant, and that constant income is I1. Till then, now we have studied law of demand, law of supply, their curve we have studied. Now we are coming back to the law of demand and we are going to introduce another variable in the demand curve to know that if the another variable will be introduced, what will be the impact on demand curve, right? So the other variables include the variable of income, and that constant income was I1. So at this demand curve, income was I1, right? At this demand curve, I1 was the income, and that I1 is remain constant in this demand curve, right? Now, what is happening? Income I1 is increased to I2. Income is increased. There is a slight increase in the income, right? So slight increase in the income, fine. So when the price was low, when the price was low at P1, demand was dx, and we got this point on the curve dx P1, right? Dx P1 dxp1, right? Now what is happening? Income is increased from I1 to I2. So at price P1 we are able to have a demand of dx, and in the very beginning of the first lecture I told you what demands mean in the economics. Demand is ability to purchase. The very first thing I explained you is what ability to purchase is the demand, and our ability to purchase is going to increase when our income is going to increase, and our ability to purchase that thing, particular thing, is going to decrease when income will decrease. Fine. So here what is happening? Our income is increased, right? Our income is increased. So at price P1, earlier we was able to have a demand of, we are able to have a demand of what? We are able to have a demand of dx at the price P1. Now, because our income is increased, now we are able to make more demand. We are able to make more demand, and now demand is dx dash. Now demand is dx dash, right? So earlier at income I1, the demand was dx P1 at price P1. But now income is increased, so that is why our demand is increased. Why? Income is increased. So at the same price, we are able to purchase more goods. So this will be dx dash P1. Got this point? Got this point? Please answer. Okay. Now we are going to apply the law of demand for income I2. Law of demand says that price will increase, then demand will decrease. So price is increased from P1 to P2. So price will increase. Now our demand was dx dash. Now price is increase. Our ability to purchase, because price increase. Now our ability was dx dash, but at price P1. They have increased the price, then definitely our ability to purchase is going to decrease. Our demand will be decreased. So at price P2, our demand is going to what? dx P2. Again, the price is increased from P2 to P3. Again, our ability to purchase is going to decrease, and it will be dx3, or sorry, we can take it dx2 at price P3. So every time price will increase, demand is going to decrease, right? So what will happen? What will happen? The new demand curve, the new demand curve will like this. And this demand curve is showing what? This demand curve is at income I2. This is the demand curve at income I1. At income I1, this is the demand curve, but at income I2, this is the demand curve, right? Why? Because when the price was P1 at income I1, price was P1 and demand was dx. But what happened? Our income is increased from I1 to I2. So definitely at the price P1, our ability to purchase was increased from dx to dx dash. So that is why the first point we have find here. Then they started increasing the price. So every time price is increased, demand is decreased, and we got this curve, this curve, right? And this curve is the curve which is showing income is increased, right? Now how they are going to ask the question, how they will ask this question? They are going to ask the question according to law of demand. Listen very carefully, right? Or I'll write it here so that even if you will watch it later, it will be a little bit easier for you. If income will increase, if income will increase, then demand curve will shift in right side. If income will increase, then demand curve will shift in the right side. It was shifted. I told you we have to see the curve from origin point, and from origin point we have seen that it is shifted to right side. Or sometimes in the exam the right side option is not there, they will ask upwards or downwards, upwards or downwards. So right side or upwards, right? So the question will be in the exam is like that: according to law of demand, if income is going to increase, right? So people get confused. They studied that ki according to law of demand other variables are constant. So to make you confused, what they will do, they will write the language in this manner, because see, it's very simple law. It's a very simple law of the economics. So they do what, they generally try to play with the words. When topic is easy, examiner or the people who are framing the question, they will try to play with the words, right? If topic itself is difficult, then there is no need to play with the words. They will ask the question and you are not able to attempt. But the topic is easy, then they will try to play with the words. So whenever you are going to attempt this kind of the question, be very careful what they have written there, and I have seen that many students will commit this very basic mistakes. They will get very happy, excited ki I got this question, I know this topic, and without reading that question properly they will commit the mistake. So my strong recommendation for you for these kind of the topics: read the question very carefully. Doesn't matter it is from easy topic or difficult topic, and if it is for easy topic, then be more careful with the words, right? So they will ask this question in this manner: if income will increase according to law of demand, if income will increase, then the shift curve will be shift the curve will shift what, right side, left side, right? Right side, left side will be remain same, or it will be perpendicular to demand axis. So such kind of the options will be there. If you will find what it is shifting right side, so you have to take this option. And if it is mentioned upwards, then you have to click on the upward option, right? There is no possibility they'll ask these two options in the different option. It will be not like that ki option B they are saying upwards, and in option D they are writing right side. So there will be no possibility of such kind of a thing. Don't worry. Either they will ask upwards or they will ask right side. So that is going to be the one possible question in your exam, right? So if you understood this thing, I'm going to just ask you one more thing. We have increased the income, right? We have increased the income from I1 to I2. Now we are going to decrease the income from I1 to I3. From I1 to I3. Earlier income was how much? Income was I1 and it was increased to I2, and we found this curve. Now I am saying that now income is decreased from I1 to I3. Then what happened? Go to this curve and remember what? Demand is ability to purchase, and if our income is going to decrease, our ability to purchase is decrease. So at price P1, definitely now our demand will be like dy, and if the price, they are going to increase the price, our ability to purchase is further going to decrease, dy1, then again dy2, again dy3. So every time they will increase the price, our ability to purchase is going to decrease at low income. So what kind of the curve we are going to get it here? This time curve will be like this, right? So This is our demand curve. This curve is income increased, and this is income decrease, right? This is income decrease. So if, first of all, regarding the curve, demand curve is downsloping, number one. Demand curve is downsloping, number one, right? Number two, if in the demand curve income will increase, demand curve will shift upwards or right side. If income will decrease, demand curve will shift downwards or left side. Got this point? I hope you understood this point of demand curve, right? So, okay. So time is about to over and we have to start our next class at 9. That is for grade B. So let's wind it up here. In next class, we will take up this supply curve also in the similar fashion, right? And then I will discuss price equilibrium. Price equilibrium, and that is going to be little bit interesting because we are going to have this kind of the figure in the next class it will be, we are going to discuss one figure in this manner. We are going to discuss this kind of the figure in the next class. These are representing demand curve and all these three are representing supply curve. We will discuss, and with this diagram I will let you know about concept of inflation also. I will explain inflation concept. I will explain you what is the price equilibrium, right? What is the price equilibrium when the price will increase, or even you can apply this same law. Remember, all those students who are attending grade B lectures and they have watched the lecture of when I have explained exchange rate, when I have explained exchange rate, I told you what I told you, the exchange rate at present based on market force of demand and supply, right? Demand and supply, I explained you there. From this diagram you will get better understanding. You will get better understanding what I explained there. I'll briefly mention you here also when I'll explain this thing in the next class, and it is going to be very easy for you to understand the exchange rate, how the exchange rate works, or even the price of any commodity work in the market. You are going to get a clear cut understanding regarding how the prices will be changed, how the supply will change, how the demand will change in the market structure. It will give you the good understanding in the next lecture. Okay, so right now I'm going to wind up this today's lecture. We will start from here. Means first I will explain more supply curve like I have explained you this one. I'll explain this one also, right? And then we will move here. So next class is going to be very informative and it is going to give you the better understanding about the commodity prices, demand and supply. Okay, so let's wind it up here. Thanks for today's. Okay, we will join tomorrow. Thank you.